everyone, hope your day is going well. We are going to be walking away with some game from 80-year-olds who share advice for their younger self. It's going to be an interesting video. I always like to learn from people who have lived a longer life than me, because that's where the true wisdom is at, man. And, I did read a book. What was the name? The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. I think it was by an author named Bronnie Ware, which is really good. The 5 most common regrets for the people who are in their deathbeds and they look back at their lives. And very interesting book, man. Very interesting book. Let's check out this video.
If you could go back in time knowing what you know today and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say?
People view you as not an ongoing person anymore.
It's sad and lonely.
Dang,
there's no cure and there's no hope.
It's a big mistake.
That's something that I only discovered 40 years into my life.
5 years ago, I wasn't like this at all.
It's hard, bloody hard today. You make yourself miserable.
You want the truth? In this video, I'll be in Montreal, Canada, asking strangers in their 80s, some of the oldest and wisest people in the world, what advice they would give to their younger self. Let's get into it. How old are you?
88.
What does it feel like to be 88?
Well, I just came back from my cardiologist. I'm in perfect shape physically, but I lost my wife a couple of years ago, so mentally I'm still working on it.
How was that like, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, it's sad and lonely. I eat most of my meals alone, but I'm doing okay. As long as I'm in good physical shape for another year, that'll be fine. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get there.
Yeah. How long were you guys together for?
63 years. It was a perfect relationship, but, my wife contacted ALS. She lived for a year after the diagnosis, but there's no cure and there's no hope, and she had no quality of life. But she opted for medical assistance in dying and went very quietly and with dignity.
What was your favorite memory of her?
Oh, everything. 3 sons and 7 wonderful grandkids. We did a lot of cruising. We were in Vietnam, we were in the Baltics. We had a good life.
What did she mean to you?
Everything.
How old are you?
70.
What does it feel like to be 70?
Wow, man. That was tough, man. But seeing him still going further, and I think he mentioned his 3 children, and they might have children, so grandkids, children. There's enough fuel there to keep going. I think, wow, being together with my wife, we're not married for 20 years, but we're together for 20. Married for 7, so that's a topic that's on my mind as well. One day is sayonara for one of us, going at it alone. Hopefully that day is not in the too near future, but it's definitely something that is on one's mind, and seeing this is heartbreaking. Wow.
Oh, man. It's been a rough year. My wife died at the end of March, and my mother died 2 weeks ago. Otherwise, I'm doing good.
How long were you and your wife together?
35 years. It was a great combination. We did real well. So I kind of lost my mother, who I was with for 70 years. Mm-hmm. And I lost my wife, with whom I was with for 35 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of adjustments.
Can you define the word love?
Wishing the best for the other person.
What is important to you guys at this point in life?
That's a great one. Just despite everything, just despite anything, just wish the best for them. It's like a loving kindness, like that, metta practice, if you're familiar with that. You wish them free from harm. You wish them peace of mind, all of that, Even if it's without you, you just love them so much that you want them to be free from suffering. That's it, right? Yeah, that was heartbreaking, but he did share a great piece of advice there.
I think for me, now I lost my husband this year. He was 97. And it's very hard to live alone after you've lived with someone for 60 years. Really different kind of living. And everything starts to go. Like your back told me I've got bones broken in my back. I'm like, broken? So that's why I'm with the walker. Like 5 years ago, I wasn't like this at all. Everything goes. My eyesight is going. But I'm alive. I'm here and I see my grandchildren and I see my kids.
All right, I just want to cut in here. It's the first video that we filmed, I think, where an overwhelming number of the interviewees have dealt with loss recently. These videos, it's one thing to listen to the advice you hear, but it's also another thing to really think about what these people are saying. Like we are going to be going through very similar emotions and feelings that they are going through right now. I just invite you to take the time to text somebody that you love. Not text them, honestly, don't text them. Take time to call somebody, to go make an appointment with somebody that you love. Tell them that you love them, tell them you appreciate them, and you never know when the last time will be. You know, life is really short, and all these interviews have been showing me this recently, so I know I'm gonna do that after I finish filming this today. So how does the world look at you differently?
Yeah, man, it's when you're being confronted with this over and over, I must imagine for it's from the Sprout channel, for him that, it's on your mind, just as I think about this a lot. You never know when it's the last time, and we will all be there, even if we're lucky enough to get to that age, even with somebody you love, after 60 years, this woman said, being together almost every day, eating together, sleeping together, going on trips together. To have that fall away is, she was walking with a crutch. It is like you're having this crutch for 60 years and somebody kicks it away. The support system. That was powerful.
How does the world look at you differently?
It's just by the age, and if you're 88, you probably have dementia. You have very few interests left in life. People view you as not an active, ongoing person anymore. It's a person who is saying goodbye, you could say.
But you don't feel that way, right?
I don't feel that way. Not yet, anyways.
Yeah. How do you feel about the way people think about you?
I accept it because I know it's the truth. That's what they think. I must have thought the same thing when I was younger.
What have you done in your life to feel this good at this point?
A lot of exercise. I'm in the gym 3-4 times a week, bicycling, walking.
Wow.
Like even now, I'm going for lunch. I'm up to 10,000 steps.
Nice.
My grandfather
Respect,
died
man.
when he was about 90.
The health span, that's important just as lifespan, that's what, even a health span might be more important, because if you have no quality of life, can't hang on that long. It's harder. And if you're healthy, like 81, doing 10,000 steps before lunch, man, I'll sign. If there's a contract right now, I'll sign for that. That's amazing. That's amazing. Respect.
87, and he remained intellectually active to the very last day of his life. And I'm very busy. I'm writing and doing voiceovers. I'm very
Awesome.
busy. My days are full. If you know how to channel your creativity and you let others benefit from it, you've defeated age.
Ooh,
I'm also a fine artist,
that's a
and nobody
banger.
can tell you when to stop that. So you're in control. It's not like you have to retire from your job. And that, I think, is very, very satisfying in some ways, that you can just keep producing, keep making.
What's the truth about life that you could teach to young people?
If you live in the past, you're depressed. If you live in the future, you're anxious.
Yeah.
If you live in the present, you're at peace and focused on the present.
That everything
Whose
is
quote is that?
impermanent. So
I've heard that quote before. I've read it before. And which is true, we only have this present moment, even though it's fleeting all the time. It's a volatile thing. This now, what is this now? It's already gone before you can grasp it. But worrying about the future, it's great to have a plan. It's great to learn from the past, but dwelling on it, mulling it over and over is definitely not productive, right? We all know that. It just, everything is easier said than done, right? With practice, it helps, mindfulness and things like that. Exercise, it's different things for different people, or it's a combination of all of those things. It's like a mental armor that you craft, with these sometimes rituals that you perform in the morning or in the evening, whatever it may be, whatever works for you. Yeah. Yo. Hey, these people definitely have a lot of wisdom, and yeah, respect.
Present.
that everything is impermanent. So let's enjoy this moment 100%. Everything has a beginning, everything has an end. When we are young, we think that it's never going to end. It's a big mistake.
Enjoy the moment.
Exactly. And also not to be so full of yourself and so proud in the sense of empty pride, what you can do with your body or what your achievements. You know, as you get older, you see that many of those things get weaker, you know, like your body is not as strong, so you cannot do as much. But when you are young, you know, sometimes you look at old people and you say, oh, you know, why don't they move faster, you know? Why don't they understand, you know?
Right.
I guess when you are confronted with somebody like that, and then you feel your impatience growing, so that's the moment to practice deep breathing and mindfulness. That's the way to combat stress.
If you could go back in time knowing what you know today and give one piece of advice.
You know, when you're confronted with somebody moving a little bit slower in front of you, you know, instead of getting anxious and stressed out, it's maybe a good time to say, hey, let me breathe in. That's a good advice right there. I try to do that in traffic, you know, that type of thing. Or say, you know, why am I flipping out here? Just take a breather, and, you know, it's better to be here or be a little bit late and never arrive at all, you know, if you get what I'm saying. So that's really good. And it's also, sometimes when you're confronted with that, it may be, maybe even in your unconscious mind, that you are aware of that you will be at that stage as well. Maybe that's why we can't deal with that in another way. Very interesting, very interesting. And it's a shame because I don't really have a lot of older people in my life. Some of them are becoming a little bit older, but I never grew up with older people, so it's tough to. I wish I had the chance to know grandparents or, you know, some older people in life, where I could have learned something from. So it's really valuable what this channel is doing, man.
Bad stress.
If you could go back in time knowing what you know today and give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would you say?
I say to myself, my husband would come alive again. I'd never argue with him again.
I would want to encourage that guy to be more able and courageous to act on his gut feeling. That's something that I only discovered 20, 30, 40 years into my life. You know, what is this gut feeling that people talk about? It was as if it was a sound that was beyond my ability to hear. I was brought up in an environment and a mindset where you did what you were told, you obeyed. That resulted me in getting into a relationship that I went too far in it because I don't want to disappoint her, don't want to say no. And, you know, my gut feeling was saying, like, this doesn't feel good. I wish I'd had more courage in myself, more confidence in my gut feeling.
What's the lesson or takeaway that you have from that experience?
It's one of balance, not being a total robot and not being a total, inward-looking person either. You know?
If you could go back in time knowing
That's
what
a
you know
good one.
today and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would you say to her?
No,
No.
nothing. Everything was perfect the way it was because it took me to this moment.
Looking back, what do you wish young people knew earlier in life?
I think you know exactly what you should be doing when you at this point in your life. You can't say what you should have known and been better at. You can only do what you can do. You'll make yourself miserable thinking that you're not keeping up to what you should be.
What's one thing that when you were younger you put a lot of importance on, and as you got older you realized wasn't actually that important?
You want the truth? Chasing girls. And then I met my wife, and we've been married for 45 years. I saw the futility of that. It's a lot nicer to be in a very loving couple than to be chasing women all the time. Don't be afraid to fall in love. Yeah, no, it's true. Some people are. Some people are very sort of,
Reserved.
they're
They don't
afraid
wanna
of
get in
becoming dependent or getting hurt or whatever,
hurt.
but you shouldn't.
You got to risk it.
What's your recipe for living a good life?
Do the right thing was the number one thing. That was my wife's credo. Keep your chin up, don't be judgmental, and give the other person the benefit of the doubt. Kindness, fairness, honesty. She had it all. She had it all. I mean, I could
beautiful
go
person.
on and on. She had it all.
A lot of people my age feel very lost in life. They feel like it's very hard to navigate their life, to figure out what they want to do. What would be your advice to those people? How do they figure their life out or piece it together?
Well, I'm 70 and I feel very much like you do. I mean, apart from wanting to have a really good relationship, which I succeeded after a number of failures, I never really had any major goal. I never really had that kind of a priori list. It's sort of more like, wow, what does she like? But I learned a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm. Do you regret not having a specific big goal?
At times, I felt I should have had some goals, that were more explicit, because then you can, put your efforts at achieving it. Sort of think like, well, maybe if I had them, I might have actually achieved them. Instead, I had quite a few, let's say, minor successes.
Yeah.
Which it is what it is.
My advice to young people.
That's great, seeing it from a person who has experienced that, because it's mostly not the things that we do that we end up regretting. Even if we make mistakes, you can learn from them, but it's most of the time the things that we never do that we wanted to attempt but didn't have the courage, or we're worried about what other people might think of them, and then you come at a later point in life and said, oh man, I wish I would have done it anyway. That's a good one.
Smoke a lot of dope.
Well, not a lot. Not a lot, people. Don't
Especially
smoke a lot.
before going to bed at night, I have either an edible or a joint of indica.
Every night?
Every night.
Hey.
Almost. And it relaxes me. Well, you should. The smell in the whole bloody house. You don't really get stoned, I must say. Well, maybe you do.
You wouldn't know, yeah.
We have to work with what we have and start from there.
How do we figure out what we need?
What costs us the most to do, that's what we need the most.
What costs us? Like energy-wise? The effort. Is that also what scares us too?
Yes, scare, bored with, or no, I don't want to bother with that. Well, maybe you have to look into it.
Don't focus on all the noise that's around you. If there's nothing you could do about the noise around you, find something positive that you could do and affect other people. My expression is, I aspire to inspire.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, knowing what you know today, what would you say to him?
Develop more personal friendships. Men don't usually have a lot of friends. My wife had hundreds. At her funeral, there were 150 people and 200 condolences on the website of the funeral home. She was really loved, and I know I can do better.
What is the value of...
Oh man, that's one that speaks to me personally. I had a lot of friends, but getting sober and, trying to achieve some goals and health and all of that, prioritizing made me, kind of self-isolate a little bit. And, of course, the pandemic had something to do with it as well. But very important, especially when you see an older person who has lost his wife. And if that is the only thing you really, really value in life, and then you lose it and you didn't build any other relationships, it's not easy to go further, I guess. So that one hits me. Damn. Hey, there's some great advice in it. That's a great video, man. Great video.
Community.
The value is very important. The influence is very important. If it's fraught with people who had, their own issues that got projected onto you or prevented you from seeing other opportunities, you're starting at a deficit. My wife came from a very supportive, loving family, very, very social, and I could see the, dramatic differences in how we approach life. And I think she ended up choosing some good people going forward. Me included, I guess.
Invest heavily in your relationships. Relationships are more important than anything else. Having relationships that are good or someone very close to you is worth everything, more important than anything else. Then from there you go on. But you have to have that. Don't cheat on it and don't run away from it.
Most people are not doing that. It's a very individualistic society right now that we live in, at least for young people.
For themselves. Everyone's anxious about being forgotten or not get where they want to get. It's hard. It's bloody hard today. I'm glad I'm not that young and struggling. I couldn't do it. I mean that I couldn't do it.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Listen, our mission is not just to inspire you to live a more fulfilling life through these interviews, but to also give you the tools and resources you need to make it happen for yourself. The way that I was able to make it happen for myself and live my dream life was through creating content. Now, if you're a busy professional and you want to gain the freedom to do more of what you love, to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, and you believe that content creation could be the path to helping you get there, I made a free video for you to help you get started. Click the link in the description to watch it. Thanks again for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next.
Hey, man, that's cool. And everybody, you know, should find something they love to do, you know, keep yourself busy, even if it's not for financial means or something, you know. There were some great pieces of advice here, and there were a lot of commonalities, you know, especially when it comes to investing in relationships. And, you know, I have some great relationships, you know, but that's one I could definitely work on. And I believe, especially for people even younger than me, you know, I'm 37 right now, but even I think maybe that will be the one of maybe my generation, maybe one after. Maybe that is the thing that we're going to end up regretting. And if there's ever a type of video made 40, 50 years from now, we might have the same advice, but with the extra added line of, I wish I would have done that. That's the advice that we probably ignore too much. And this is from people who have lived it. Yeah, that's a great video. You know, I shared a piece of advice with my younger self too, you know, in my own books that I wrote. And this is not a plug because they're not available in English anyway. In the trilogy I published, each book, the first one was dedicated to my wife, and then to the second one to my daughter, the third one to my 6-year-old self, because, you know, I had a little bit of a mental wounds that, you know, are still not healed. And in the book it said, well, I'm going to have to translate it now to English, to my 6-year-old self, you know, not everything is going to be okay. That's fine. Meaning, like, don't worry too much about all that, because it led me to some precarious situations. Yeah, man. Great video this. I learned a lot. Thank you for checking this out with me. Feels like having a little bit of a communal experience, even though I'm only talking to a camera. Hope you have a great day. Peace.